Okay, we are live, but we have to let this stream breathe just for a few seconds. Make sure we're nice and stable. Welcome in, everybody, to the Huddle Up podcast, presented as always by Mile High Huddle, powered by Overtime Media. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. And with me, as always, is my partner in crime, my fellow football priest, in a unique attire, combination of hat and t-shirt. But Zack Kelberman, why don't you show our great audience, our great community, this new t-shirt that you're rocking? We've plugged it before from the merch store, but show them how it looks. Hold on, let me get rid of the banner so they can see it better. There.
Let me hear my
Oh,
mic.
and now it's got your handle. Okay. Let them hate.
Let them
boys and
hate.
girls.
Let him hate.
On the back, it's the Huddle Up podcast. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. Turn the other way. Turn to your left. Yeah. There. You got locked in hashtag and the Huddle Up pod logo. I love it, dude. These have been selling like freaking crazy since we debuted them.
Yeah, literally got it out of the box an hour ago, put it on. It fits pretty snug, Chad, but very high quality. Not to kind of, pimp our own product right now, but I'm very happy with how they turned out. And anyone who's ordered them, let me know how you like it. I'm very happy to wear it. And I have to say, it's pretty stylish and relevant right now for the Broncos.
Absolutely. Looks good. Zach, not a whole lot of breaking news per se to necessarily convey to our community here tonight. However, there was an interesting article that was put out here by Mike Kliss of 9 News. I want to say it was last night, might have been this morning, but an interesting look at the DeMar Dotson signing, and I think it was the first media availability, the first Denver media guy that Dotson has talked to since signing, which is just a couple of days old, obviously, since that was made official. But Zach, a couple of interesting points that came out of Kliss's article is the fact that DeMar Dotson is all about manifest destiny. As soon as he heard that Juwan James had opted out, he reached out to his agent and said, call the Broncos, tell him I'm interested. He wanted to come to Denver.
I don't blame him. I mean, he sees not only a pretty proud historic franchise, but he also sees a young up-and-coming offense, a young hotshot quarterback. And Drew Locke's name, it's funny, in NFL circles from player to player, he has more of a reputation than he does in the national media. The players know what the Broncos are building, but DeMar Dotson also saw an opportunity, Chad. Right now in the NFL, not a lot of starting offensive line spots to go around. These are pretty well established in mid-August. But the Broncos lost their right tackle. Their other right tackles had surgery. He saw a starting opportunity, and that's exactly why he settled for what's a prove-it contract. I love what he's saying so far, Chad, but it's easy to kind of read between the lines and see what his intention is, which is starting. Not that I blame him.
Absolutely. Real quick, speaking of Drew Locke, he revealed that, he hasn't had much of a chance to really watch Drew Locke play. I mean, he had his own business to attend to last year, right? He was a starting right tackle in the NFL for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Here's what he told Kliss, though, about what he had heard about Drew Locke. Quote, I heard he's really fired up and has got a lot of energy. I've heard nothing but good stuff about him. I haven't gotten a chance to see him play yet, but everybody pretty much loves him, close quote. So Zach, he's touching on his passion. So he's fired up, lots of energy. We saw how he energized the Broncos from week 13 on last year. But interesting that he points to the fact that no one has a bad word to say about Drew Locke that he's come into contact with, that everyone pretty much loves him.
It's contagious. We hear that all the time, that personnel and attitude and it factor is contagious. And Drew Locke is proving that not only for his own players. We saw how he galvanized the Broncos on the field. We saw how he led them off the field with the protests this offseason. But when a brand new player who's coming from the NFC, who knows nothing about Denver, nothing about the Broncos, for him to come in and say pretty much everyone loves him, he feels that reputation. When is the last time we could say that about a Broncos quarterback? When is the last time a player signed with Denver because of the pull of the quarterback? That would be Peyton Manning. And that would be 2014, maybe 2015. So a half decade since the Broncos had that star power. And yeah, we've been talking about it for 6 months now. It's all on paper. It's all fluff for now. He has to go out and prove it. But I love every single thing that's coming out about Locke and his influence and the orbit around Denver. He's really taken hold of this franchise, Chad. And now the Broncos are landing players because of him. It's exciting.
Indeed. One last thing I want to touch on here from Kliss's article, and it's actually a really good piece. I recommend fans, go give it a read over at 9 News. We have some blurbs on it, our own analysis and spin on some of what Dotson told Kliss up at milehighhuddle.com. You can go read that as well. But the one last thing I want to get your take on here, Zach, is Kliss kind of divulged at least some of the contract details. What we had heard with regard to Dotson's deal with the Broncos, of course, was that it was a 1-year deal worth up to $3 million. And we always know that when you hear that verbiage, worth up to, you got escalators, incentives, playtime. He's got to hit a lot of different escalators in order to make all that $3 million. But here's what Kliss reported in this article, quote, Dotson got a 1-year deal that has $400,000 guaranteed and another $100,000 bonus if he makes the Broncos 53-man roster for week 1. He can make up to $3 million if he hits incentive thresholds. For now, the Broncos' plan is for Dotson to back up Elijah Wilkinson at right tackle and have Garrett Bowles start a 4th season at left tackle, close quote. Before I serve this over to you, Zach, I want to draw to your attention this fact. Last year, of course, Eli Wilkinson started 12 games at right tackle for the Broncos while James was injured. Meanwhile, Dotson started 15. Now, Wilkinson gave up 10 sacks, 32 pressures, was penalized 6 times last year in 12 starts. Dotson gave up 2 more pressures, according to Pro Football Focus, than Wilkinson did, but only 5 sacks, and he started, of course, 3 more games than Wilkinson did. So, to me, if I'm the Broncos, obviously there's a reason why Wilkinson wasn't my penciled-in starter at right tackle to open up the summer, and it took Juwan James opting out to vault him forward. I want to see Dotson, if I'm the coaches, I'm getting him in there, rotating him in there with the first team between he and Elijah Wilkinson, splitting reps, I should say, ASAP, and then just let the best man win. Let the chips fall.
I think I saw it in that article, Chad. You said for now, and you emphasized the for now, and that's exactly what are the key words from Kliss's little blurb. And what Kliss is saying holds water, but there is no freaking way DeMar Dotson is not the week 1 starting right tackle. It would have to be he doesn't know the playbook or he gets injured. But if he can't beat out an unnatural tackle who's coming off surgery, something is wrong there. They did not sign him to be a backup. I think they're saying that to hedge their bets in case Wilkinson does beat him out. But this is a veteran guy who I'm not even talking about the penalties right now, because when you block for Jameis Winston, we talked about this last couple pods. It's a whole different ball game than blocking for Drew Locke or even for Brandon Allen. They don't make mistakes like Jameis Winston does. DeMar Dotson, 100-something starts, Chad. 9 years of experience. He will be your week 1 tackle. And again, the money they gave him, it's literally peanuts for a week 1 starting right tackle in mid-August. One of my favorite sneaky Broncos pickups the last couple years.
Well said, my friend. Gang, today is our favorite episode of each and every week. I mean, the superstar segments are growing on us, and they're right up there with the Mile High Mailbag, but this remains our favorite episode of each and every week because we are your football priests. Each and every week, we're here to offer you the absolution and the answers to your burning Broncos questions. So whatever's on your mind, get it in the chat stream. I already see we've got some super chats stacking up. And in fact, real quick, let's grab Paul Jackson because I don't want the stream to jump. Appreciate that donation, Paul. He said, got my MHH hat. Thanks, guys. And it looks like from the profile pic, he grabbed the dad hat. Looks good on you, I must say, Paul. Appreciate you. Not counting Peyton, who is the next former or current Bronco to get into the Hall.
Atwater.
Hashtag state of being Denver Broncos for life. I mean, honestly, probably Von Miller.
Yeah.
Who do you think?
I mean, literally, I was joking and saying Steve Atwater, but yeah, I mean, in terms of first ballot, immediate, I think it has to be Vaughn. No one on the current roster right now is worthy, I think, of Hall of Fame just yet, and they don't have many legends that are getting consideration like the Gradishars or like the Carl Mecklenburgs. The next guy to go on the Hall, who's still playing, is definitely Vaughn.
I mean, you could make an argument for Demaryius Thomas at some point, but he's probably more of a guy that lands, his ceiling with regard to career accolades. It's probably going to be Ring of Fame as opposed to Hall of Fame. I don't think he'll end up getting over the 10K barrier, and that's crucial. He's got a world championship. He's got, multiple Pro Bowls, but can you tell the story of the era that Thomas was in the league? Can you tell the story of the NFL without Thomas? What's your answer to that?
I think he's the Hall of Very Good. And what would Demaryius Thomas be without Peyton Manning? I mean, I'm not to take anything away from DT. He was a good player, even with Tim Tebow, obviously. But Peyton just took his game to a next level, and he did that with so many other receivers, even Julius Thomas. When Peyton was gone, Julius Thomas was a jag. So it was the Peyton factor bumping everyone up. I like DT for what he contributed, Chad, when he held on to the football and then when he was on the field, but not the Hall of Fame.
He was literally a jag, Julius Thomas, when Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
All right, gang, we're going to dive into the chat stream, find out what is on your minds, get it in there. We'll be with you shortly. First, just a couple of quick matters of business. Make sure you're following the podcast on Twitter at Huddle Up Pod. That's how you keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening with this show in real time. And then while you're at it, make sure you're also following the mother account, as I like to call it, at Mile High Huddle. If you get those two boxes, if you will, checked on Twitter, you're following them both, you're not going to miss anything as it relates to the podcast, and you're certainly not going to miss any breaking Broncos news or analysis, and that is crucial. Also, gang, as we talked about at the top of the show, if you want to get yourself one of those awesome Let 'em Hate t-shirts, one of these hats, we got hoodies, we got face masks, we got mugs, we got a little something for everybody. Head on over to huddleuppod.com, just like Paul. Paul rocking the dad hat, the MHH dad hat. He got it at huddleuppod.com. Go get your swag on. It's another great way to support what we do here at MHH. And then also we want to draw your attention to, especially we want to speak to our Facebook audience. So many of you reach out to us. You want to learn, you want to know how you can support MHH like you see our Super Chat Superstars doing on YouTube. There is a way, and that's by becoming officially a supporter. I'm going to go ahead and put the link here to become a supporter on Facebook in the chat stream. If you're in a position, check that out. It all helps. It all allows Zach and I and John and all the other podcasts and all the other writers to continue to bring you this content, not just the live streams, but all the written content, the videos that we do. It gives us the opportunity to do that. And real quick, I've been saying I was going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger on this. It's not the greatest infographic, so bear with me. But a shout out to the supporters on Facebook who have signed up this week. Gerald Hendy, Roger Gutke. We got Pobby's on there. She supports on Super Chat. She supports on Facebook. Jerry Hollins, another guy, supports on Facebook, supports on YouTube. Chris Hernandez as well, right up there, one of our MHH Mount Rushmore guys. Steve Griffith, Emmy Lee, and I think I might actually be – I gotta get rid of the ticker for a second. And Michael Lewis. Okay, there we go. So shout out to you guys. We really appreciate your support. It means a lot to us. And if you guys are on Facebook, you want to jump in, we got the link in the chat stream. Last thing, gang, if you're not in a position to support what we're doing with financially, it's all good. Each and every one of you can do these three things: subscribe, like, share. Those three things, you have no idea organically how much it helps. Zach and I and all the podcasts continue to do what we love to do and bring you this content. All right, Zach, let's see what is on the minds of the community here tonight. As I scroll down, lots of conversation. Man, it's the conversation in the community on YouTube especially is just prolific. I love seeing it. And I'm jealous sometimes that I can't just hang out in the chat and just go back and forth with you guys. I actually got to provide you content. Mark Langley jumping in on Super Chat. Bonafide superstar. Appreciate you, Mark. It's good to see you as always, my friend. He says, "What's up, my guys? Just wanted to say hi and to my fellow Broncos country community. Hashtag Sir Mundungi was awesome. The Wiz, hashtag Football Priest, hashtag MHH, hashtag Huddle Up Pod." He was, man. Mundungus came on, and he even had a little flair. He had he had the wand, and I mean, it was good. We look forward to getting him back on the show in the near future. Really down to earth guy, and obviously big time Broncos fan, big time supporter of MHH.
Wizards and Priest chat. I mean, out of context, no one would know this is a football podcast. It's so amazing the little inside jokes we have with our listeners.
Tomorrow is the real beginning of training camp, Friday the 14th. And what I mean by that is, even though they've all the rookies, the quarterbacks, the veterans, they've all been at Dove Valley, they've been separated by different protocols. And mostly it's when the rookies, the quarterbacks, the punters, and the injured people, specialists, when they're on the field, the other guys have to be in the building. Or that's how it's been up to this point, and so on, and reverse order. When Von Miller and Jarrell Casey, when they're out on the grass, Drew Locke and those guys are in the building. Well, they're all coming together tomorrow. They're going to have helmets on. They're going to have shells on, and it really begins in earnest tomorrow. However, Having said that, Zach, there is some buzz that has emanated from Dove Valley since training camp, since they at least showed up at the building. Can you call it training camp? I still call it training camp, but one of those is something that we picked up today. Luke Patterson had it for us at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are following him on Twitter, you'll already know this. If not, make sure you do at Luke Patterson LP. But he said that Albert Okwuegbunam, man, Okwuegbunam. That's what it is. Okwuegbunam.
One of these
Albert
days.
O, let's say, has been flashing in training camp up to this point. Zach, how much do you read into that? Is there been enough real football activity to even read into that at all?
No. You know what? As much as I like to be optimistic at this time of the year, Chad, it's literally you going out to the backyard of the park and throwing a football around. It's literally that elementary, and it's going to ramp up like you mentioned. But to this point, I'm not forming opinions or anything definitive on anyone right now. Jake Butt was catching passes. He was looking pretty good in shorts and a t-shirt. It doesn't mean he's healthy. It doesn't mean he's pushing for a role in the team. So when these padded practices start and NFL training camp, Broncos camp feels like Broncos camp, then I will start looking at the players and judging them. But to this point, it doesn't hold much to me.
It's good to see him out there on the grass running around, but
that's about it.
They're mostly throwing to air. They're mostly, I mean, I have seen some clips of a few individual drills, like on the rookie side. I've seen a few clips of like Michael Ojemudia guard the rookie corner, guarding in coverage, going up against a wide receiver and then trying to bat the ball down or whatever. But it really goes into full action tomorrow, and from there, Zach, we're going to have at least a little bit better view of what's happening at training camp, because the Broncos announced today on Thursday that they're debuting a new show called Training Camp Live. Sounds exciting, right? But it's going to be hosted by Steve Atwater. Let me just read you this one quick paragraph from the press release they sent out to us. It says that Steve Atwater will host. He'll have special guests on that will give fans an inside look at Broncos training camp. The show will be streamed on denverbroncos.com, on the Broncos app, Facebook, and YouTube channels. Will include opportunities for fans to vote on show elements, win special prizes. The program will debut with 2 early access editions on Friday and Sunday as the team holds a pair of practices to begin camp. Fans will get their first glimpse of the Broncos in pads on Monday as Training Camp Live, presented by, they have a sponsor here, swings into full gear. So, Zach, we heard from, I think it was the Browns, but I could be misremembering who the team was that was just going to live stream the entirety of training camp for the fans, since fans aren't allowed to be in attendance this year, and we all know why. I guess for the Broncos, we were hoping that they would do something similar. This is their version, a 1-hour live stream. I'm sure they'll show, hopefully they'll have a window going and where you can just watch what's happening on screen. Fans can see that while the talking heads do their thing.
You know what? After what we've been through this offseason, literally having no sports, no practice, no preseason, I'll take anything we can get right now. Literally anything, any update, any video, any report from camp, I will be happy with. So as long as football is back and being played and being reported on and we get to cover it, I'm a happy camper.
And for what it's worth, gang, if you head on over to milehighhuddle.com, in the community section, there is a post that details what this new show is going to be based on what we learned from the press release. Go check that out when you get some time. Jordan Bricky jumping in with a super chat. Really appreciate that, my friend, the support. And a name we don't recognize, as we can learn here in what he says. First time catching live. Great job. A newer listener. Awesome, Jordan. That's a very unique way to spell the name Jordan, by the way. Zach, I've never quite seen it spelled out in that way. Very unique.
I thought it was Gordon with a silent E.
Maybe it is. I think it's Jordan, though. I'll be honest with you.
Probably
it's like it's like half of George and Dan. So Jordan would be my guess. For those listening, it's Geordan. Anyway, Jordan, appreciate you, my friend. Make sure if you're on Twitter, you reach out, connect with us, let us know who you are so that we can shout you out after the show.
Drop us a question, too, if you have one.
Anything you got, put it there, my friend. All right, let me see here. All right, bear with me one second. Lots of, oh, by the way, we got Eclipse Stormborn in the house. We got Terry Randall. We got Duke. Chris Hernandez is with us. Awesome. James Campbell's back in the house. James, we needed you last night, dude. I can't even remember what it was now that we were all stumped on. What was
Sack
it?
leader last season.
Yeah. Yeah. Who, anyway, we needed your statistical prowess. And anyway, we're just glad to have you back in the house with us, my friend. Edward Keating jumping in, showing some love, bona fide superstar.
Thank you, Ed.
Appreciate you, Ed. He says, I agree with Zach. Dotson will be the week 1 starter. Hashtag state of being Denver Broncos for life. You know what's weird about that? You say follow the money. Technically, Elijah Wilkinson is guaranteed more dollars this year than Dotson is as a restricted free agent.
Just goes to show you the steal they got in Dotson. And is there anyone who doesn't agree? Is there anyone who thinks Wilkinson is going to be the week 1 right tackle? Let me know in the comments, guys, if there's any Wilkinson fan out there who thinks he's going to start over Dotson.
We got the queen of MHH in the house as well. And she says, just got done with the kids' math. The struggle is real. A lot of, in different parts of the country, kids went back to school starting today in some parts of the country. So anyway, if you are parents out there, we feel your pain. I feel your pain. I know what it's like, but good to have you in the house with us here, Christy. All right, let's see what else we got here. Joe wants to know on Facebook, what about Rod Smith for the Hall of Fame? Now, Zach, as I've talked about on this podcast many times before, it is my humble opinion that the Gradishars and the Mecklenburgs, we've mentioned them, even Louis Wright, the original shutdown corner, the guy that the term shutdown corner was coined for. They all have, in my estimation, a bulletproof claim for the Hall of Fame. But Rod Smith is another guy who there is no argument that anyone has ever made that I've heard that actually makes sense, that I go, oh yeah, you're right. He probably doesn't deserve to be in the Hall. He does. He's a former undrafted guy who got over 10,000 yards receiving and won 2 Super Bowls, went to multiple Pro Bowls, had some all-pro selections too on his resume. Rod Smith is a testament of achievement of what a guy, I mean, talk about small school, switching positions, going from a college quarterback to playing wide receiver, having to catch on by playing special teams and just being the grunt, to within 2 or 3 years working his way up to being a Hall of Fame quarterback's number 1 wide receiver, and then going on to winning multiple Super Bowls and all the accolades. Rod Smith, in my humble opinion, absolutely deserves and should be in the Hall of Fame. It's another travesty and miscarriage of justice. But Zach, I'm also smart enough to know that the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And Rod Smith's name never gets mentioned by the voters and never gets put into the circulation for consideration. He's probably never going to be in the Hall of Fame, but he deserves it, in my opinion.
And you know what? I would put him in a second over Demaryius Thomas. He is for sure a Hall of Fame caliber wide receiver. And the point that you mentioned, Chad, being John Elway's sidekick, just having that clout alone, you can argue, and actually it's true that Demaryius Thomas wasn't Peyton Manning's best receiver he had in his career. You can make the argument that Rod Smith was John Elway's best receiver. So he definitely should be in the Hall. And like you said, I don't know if he's going to get in because of the Broncos bias. If it took Pat Bowlen this long, Charles Davis this long, what's to say for Rod Smith? But he absolutely should be. That's another Broncos snub, right up there with Mecklenburg and Gradishar.
One of our Facebook supporters, Roger, hopefully I pronounced your last name correct, my friend, Gutke, has an interesting question, Zach. He says, if you could bring back a former Denver Bronco, but a former Bronco who's still playing, if you could bring him back, who would it be and why?
Shaq Barrett, off the top of my head.
Boom.
I can't think of, I mean, he had 19 sacks last year. I mean, he was never unleashed the right way in Denver, Chad, and we saw what he can do last year in the starting role. It's one guy on top of my head.
That's a good pick, although I'll tell you, I think it took the right circumstances and a change of scenery for the switch to fully get flipped on Shaq Barrett, because he received a fair opportunity to start. Like he started a fair number of games, even though he was never the incumbent. He was never really considered the guy by the team anyway that was expected to carry the load in terms of, if Bradley Chubb's healthy, for example, the Broncos absolutely are going to give him every opportunity to be the starter. Von Miller, same. DeMarcus Ware, the same when he was here. Barrett never received that level benefit of the doubt, but he received plenty of opportunities to actually start, to where if it was going to happen for him in Denver, it would have happened. For whatever reason, it took a change of scenery. And sometimes, Zach, you see that happen with players in the NFL.
Yes.
They have a modest level of success and whatever, but they change scenery and all of a sudden, boom, stratosphere.
A couple quarterbacks as well, Chad. Kyle Sloter and Chad Kelly. Wouldn't mind them coming back in the fold.
Yeah, Chad Kelly, though.
Vacuum cleaners. Let's keep them away from Chad Kelly.
You just got to hope Chad Kelly doesn't maybe have a warrant out for. Hopefully, he paid those tickets. Yeah. I don't know if he's paid his debt to society yet for that. But
man,
either way, yeah, what a weird situation. Thanks for the question, Roger. By the way,
really interesting question. Yeah.
Eclipse Stormborn says I would vote for my good acquaintance Ashley Lilly for the Hall of Fame. Maybe that's based on your acquaintance with him. Lilly was he had 1 or 2 really good years as a Bronco. I want to say, but he only had 1,000-yard receiving season. I might be wrong on that. He and Rod Smith, actually, the year he went over 1,000, Ashley Lilly in Denver. Rod Smith went over 1,000 as well. That was a Jake Plummer season. Let me check this out real quick. Now I'm curious.
I thought he was going to be so good in the NFL when he was drafted, Lilly.
So, yes, Lilly had 1,000-yard season, and it was by the skin of his teeth, 1,084 yards on 54 receptions. But his average, he actually had 2003. That was Jake Plummer's first year in Denver. He averaged 17 yards per reception, which is serious. His third year, though, and it was the same year he got his 1,000 yards, Lilly had 20.1 yards per reception. That's huge, dude. He was just a bomb. I mean, all that yardage he put up, the 1,084 yards, much of it was just huge, big splash plays between Plummer and him. And then the next year, 2005, this was the year in which the Broncos got all the way to the AFC title game, only to lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He averaged over 18 yards per reception. So he was, I don't know. Look, I liked Ashley Lilly, don't get me wrong, but I don't even think you could say he was in the hall of the very good, like you could say about Demaryius Thomas. He just didn't sustain the production. Now, he was a Hall of Fame dude in terms of he was a great guy and he was a great teammate and he was loved in Denver, but the production just wasn't there and he didn't sustain it.
Right. Yeah. The Hall of, of hype, Hall of Fame hype. That's what Lilly could fall into. But Hall of Fame, very, very short of that. And like I said, when he was drafted, he had all this expectation and upside. I thought he was going to be a Pro Bowler right off the bat. It just never materialized for him.
We got Jess, CO13 Sports, jumping in on Super Chat. Really appreciate that, Jess. Best offensive weapon this year, Judy, Sutton, or Lindsey? Who do you think is going to be the most potent weapon when it's all said and done? I would throw in Gordon as a possibility. I would throw in Hamler and Fant as a possibility. When it's all said and done, who ends up being that bona fide stud for the Broncos?
I mean, there are 3 different players, so it's hard to choose, one uniform guy. I'm going to keep rocking with Cortland Sutton, though. Again, he's already established. Jerry Judy has to prove himself. Cortland Sutton will be a 1,200, 1,300-yard receiver this season. 12 touchdowns, Pro Bowl. He's going to have the biggest impact because he can work not only in the red zone, but on any point of the field, 80-20 balls. He has the chemistry down with Drew Locke already. I think he's going to be the best weapon and the most impactful weapon for Drew Locke this season.
John, do you have Derek's Super Chat? Because mine did a jump. Thank you. Derek Green jumping in, showing some serious generosity. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you.
He says, hey, guys, as always, great to be a part of the pod. We've gotten the shirt you sent. We've gotten the shirt you sent. Soon as I'm off, we will send the picture. Okay, good. My question is, on both sides of the ball, what would stop us from being top 5 in both? On both sides of the ball, what would stop the Broncos from being top 5? Zach, I'll take offense. You take defense. If anything were to stop the Broncos from being top 5 unit this year, what would it be?
Themselves. I mean, that's the Broncos' worst enemy is themselves. I mean, they have the talent and the coaching. To answer the question, literally, it'd be an injury. But if they all stay healthy, I mean, look at the talent, Chad, on every single level. Defensive line, linebackers, secondary. I'm not worried about the cornerbacks too much, the safeties. It would take an injury or just a catastrophic step back in a Fangio scheme in year 2 for that to happen. I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't either. On the offensive side, Well, I got to say something to John real quick. Terry's the next one that I have available to me, just so you know, John. All right. For me though, what could hold the Broncos offense back? Top 5, I think is, that's still putting them maybe a little bit too far up there. They're top 5 in potential. Don't get me wrong, but they got to go out there and prove it. So I'm going to say, what would hold the Broncos back from achieving their potential? Whether that is top 5, whether that's top 10, whatever, I would say Drew Locke would have to come out and just not be the guy that he appears to be, or that he appeared to be last year. Like, not so much a step back, but just kind of a failure to launch in year 2. And, right now expectations are sky high because of the way second-year quarterbacks have just dominated the league in recent years, all the way from Carson Wentz to Patrick Mahomes to Lamar Jackson. But there have been instances of quarterbacks who play well as rookies. They come back around the second year. They don't do as hot. They're still rolling with the punches, going through the trial and error learning curve. And then they come back in year 3, and that's where it really kicks into gear for them. I don't think that'll be the case for Drew Locke, because the Broncos have really greased the wheels in this case, not only on the coaching side, getting Pat Shurmur and Mike Shula, but really stocking the shelves and building that nest. So for me, it would really be Zach. Drew Locke would have to super struggle in 2020 for this offense to not live up to its potential.
Let me just add, though, that even if he doesn't struggle, I don't want Broncos fans to expect top 5. That would take a lot. I think if he develops on schedule, Locke and the rest of the Broncos offense, they can be a top 12 unit, top 10 unit maybe, but top 5 in his first starting season, no offseason, no preseason, limited training camp. You have all these new receivers and moving parts and running backs. It's going to take some time for Locke to get to where he needs to be. So I wouldn't go out and expecting the Broncos offense to match the Broncos defense. If they can have a top 5 defense and a top 12 offense, that's a playoff team. That would be good enough.
Absolutely. We got Josh Alstrom jumping in. Really appreciate that. Super, my friend.
Thank you, Josh.
He says Noah Fant will break out. I agree with you that he's a great candidate for that, and I think he's going to have a big second season. I think he's this year's Cortland Sutton, for what it's worth. And as I talked about on last night's show, I did a Sports Illustrated hit with the New York studio earlier this week, and they wanted to talk Noah Fant, and that was the main topic. He's kind of a sleeper option for fantasy owners who are trying to find, a tight end 1 level production, maybe a little bit later in the fantasy drafts. And Fant's a good option for that because, Zach, he's going to see a lot of snaps. So as long as he stays healthy, and that's not really a concern with Fant, he's never struggled with the injury bug really in his collegiate and pro career. As long as he stays healthy, those reps, those looks, those targets are going to come, and thus the production. So I don't have any doubt that Fant's going to have a very, very productive second year.
Yeah, I don't see George Kittle this year or Travis Kelce this year, but with Pat Shurmur, even with him not utilizing a tight end, just Fant's draft status alone, the Broncos are going to try to get return on that investment. They didn't get much last year. Tight ends take a long time to develop. It's just a tough position to translate from college to the pros. Fant has we saw it in glimpses last year against the Browns, second half of the season. He gives Locke that Gronkian, and I'm exaggerating, yes, but he has that Gronkian kind of mentality to him. He in the red zone, especially the way he catches between defenders and uses his body to shield people. He has that upside if he gets there. I don't know about 1,000-yard year, but definitely more so on a whole national scale. Noah Fant will be a more impactful player this season.
I think he's going to finish somewhere close to 800 yards receiving. That's my bet this year.
That's my bet.
All right. We also got Dylan Dubb jumping in. Really appreciate you, Dylan.
Thank you, Dylan.
He says, I always listen on Spotify. Thanks for giving me my football fix at work. This D-line is going to be great. Mark my words. # state of being in Iowa. I wonder if Dylan was affected by that weird power outage that Nick Kendall was affected by, some massive storm that knocked out power. I haven't talked to Nick for a couple of days, but when I talked to him on Tuesday, of course, he couldn't go on building the Broncos on Tuesday because of this storm knocked out all power. He said it could last a week. So, Dylan, I wonder if you're in that same neck of the woods there in Iowa. But I think it's really cool, Zach, as we talk about on the show. We love hearing how people listen, how they work us into their routines. And so, Dylan, welcome, and we appreciate you sharing that with us. And as far as the D-line, it does. I mean, I think, honestly, unless Chubb doesn't, what's the strength of the defense? I would say the edge and the defensive line. if I had to pick between the two, I would say probably the defensive line, the depth, just because the depth is better. But man, up front, the Broncos should be able to really control the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and real quick, in terms of losing power, there's nothing worse than that because I hate losing air conditioning. I can deal with the no
Yeah.
TV, no internet, but when I lose air conditioning, I'm a different person. In terms of the defense, I agree with this comment. We talked about it yesterday being a towering strength of Denver. We got a comment about that, and it's absolutely true. If not for quarterback and the offense and Judy and those weapons, I'm most excited to see the defensive line. Jarrell Casey, Shelby Harris coming back this year. You have Draymond Jones in a bigger role. Christian Covington, who they picked up. If DeMarcus Walker hangs around, they are so deep. Ajim is going to contribute. They are so deep. And Purcell as the nose tackle. I am so excited to see what they do, not only for the havoc they create and the penetration, but how they free up the edge rushers, Chad, and how it affects Von Miller and Bradley Chubb.
Symbiotic, the relationship, it goes hand in hand. They need each other.
Yep.
Terry Randall, north of the 49th parallel, proving, as always, the Broncos country is not a geographic location, y'all. It's a state of being. You know this. Terry, appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, Terry.
It's good to have you in the stream. As always, my brother, thanks for everything you contribute to this community. Really appreciate you, my man. All right, let's see what else we've got here. See if any of our – yeah, Bobby, man, he's digging the hat tonight, Zach. He's digging your swag.
Appreciate it. I like it too.
Let's grab this extremely generous super chat from Mark Langley, who just from the top rope, as he is wont to do. He does this time to time, just shows extreme generosity. And, we love you, Mark, and we appreciate you, my friend. And hopefully you can still hang in the stream. I know that you listen after the fact. Sometimes you'll be in early in the stream and then you got to go out or whatever. But hopefully you hear this. If you're not with us live, you hear this down the road and you know how much we appreciate you, my man. He just says you all have a good night and just dropping some knowledge on us there, Zach, and some love.
Mark, this one's for you. Toilet bowls. Appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Hashtag toilet bowls.
Miss you, Mark.
All right. Also, BG, as we like to call him, Brian Greenfield, jumping in, showing some love on Super Chat.
Thank you, bro.
You are the man. All right, guys, we're reaching that point where we've all been talking about these what-if topics for 3-4 months. What's going to happen here? What's going to happen there with the Broncos? Tomorrow, though, things really start getting off. I mean, it really is going to be picking up. So I think by the time we circle back with you guys, Zach and I, Sunday night for Sunday night's podcast, we're going to have quite a bit more to start sinking our teeth into by way of buzz for what it's worth as well. BG, you the man. Steve Griffith. Now, this is a guy, much love to you, Steve. He's one of these guys I've talked about before that he's a supporter on Facebook, and then he jumps on over to YouTube so that he can live super chat us live. I also saw, I think it was you, Steve, I'm pretty sure, on Facebook. Facebook's version for live streamers like us of super chat is something called stars. So if you're watching this live right now on Facebook, you can send money to the channel. You can send money to MHH by giving stars. And I saw that Steve has done that before. What I'm getting at here, Steve, is your support means a lot to us, my friend, and you're doing it across multiple channels, and it's just awesome. He says, what's up, Chad and Zach? Got to spread the love. Amped up for the official start of training camp, hashtag Denver Broncos for life and state of being. Got to love that passion, Zach.
You and me both, Steve. I'm so happy after the last 4 months, what we've been through and having nothing and just getting football back and having normalcy is the most important thing. And we love football here, Chad, completely.
Jordan says we were correct about the pronunciation. Very nice. Appreciate that clarification, my dog. Our friend Adon, he goes by a 6'10" Mexican on YouTube, jumping in on Super Chat. Appreciate you, my friend. If you could choose Elway's successor, who would you choose? Hashtag state of being. Hashtag Broncos talk. That's right, gang. He's got his podcast. Don't forget to check it out when you get some time. If you could choose Elway's successor, Zach, who would you choose?
Matt Russell. I mean, who else could it really be?
And fans are going to want you to say Peyton Manning.
Well, yeah, but realistically, it's Matt Russell. A few years ago, I would have said Adam Peters, the director of personnel. He went to the Niners, but Matt Russell is being groomed for the job. And you know what? The Broncos drafting has been on point the last 3 years. So if it does transition that way, I think they're in pretty decent hands.
Jeremy, what's up, my friend? Good to see you on Facebook. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I know fans want Peyton Manning to, it sounds good, and everything Peyton's touched traditionally turns to gold and all that. But the one thing that you got to give John Elway is that he paid some dues as a football guy, as a personnel guy, as a shot caller on the football side in the Arena League, which, it's small potatoes compared to the NFL in terms of the stakes, in terms of the level of athletes. All the best football athletes are playing in the NFL. So it's kind of a second, if not third level of talent that he was dealing with the Colorado Crush. But he had that experience, plus his 16 years in the league, helped inform him so that when he did arrive as at the time, VP of football operations, he didn't become the GM till after the 2012 free agent period. They fired Brian Zanders. Then he took that mantle of GM, took some time to learn on the job a little bit, just kind of the routine and how it goes. And so Peyton Manning, my bet, Zach, is that he would be, if he ever chose to get into that side of things, to the personnel side and football management, my bet is that he'd have a little learning curve, but he would ultimately find some modicum of success. But that doesn't necessarily mean he would be the best man to succeed John Elway, although I could totally see it happening, to be honest with you. And I could see Elway orchestrating that himself. Like if he said, look, I'm getting up there, I don't want the grind. I want to still be the football president, or I want to be the top executive, but I want to be a little bit more hands-off with regard to management of the roster and free agents. Peyton, swoop in, you're the GM, you learn on the job, and then when I officially walk away from the team, you take my job.
Then what happens, though, when Peyton, the GM, outshines John Elway, the president? I think Elway's ego is too big for him to have anyone in the building who can overshadow him. And the reason why my brain didn't even think of Peyton is I don't believe he's going to get into the GM ranks in the NFL. If he's going to come back to the sport, it's going to be as an owner or a part owner or something really high level. I don't see Peyton doing the day-to-day grind of being a general manager. He would kill it. He is one of the most, if not the most, football-savvy people on the planet, player, whatever. He would be a great general manager. I just don't see him doing that. I think if he wanted to, he would have dipped his toe in by now, Chad.
Look, based on what we've heard of Peyton Manning's interest post-football, the one that seems to have the most substance to it is the ownership side. Yeah. He's had opportunities to come in on front offices across the league. He's had opportunities to call games and be a Monday Night Football guy making tens of millions of dollars for the networks. But he flirts with the idea, but doesn't quite jump in with both feet because, as Zach said, I think you're right on that. He's either just looking for the perfect opportunity on the personnel side, or he wants to be an owner. But it takes some serious scratch to even gin up the type of ownership, even to put together a group that can buy an NFL team, let alone one individual guy. Now, Peyton Manning, he made so much money in the NFL. How many $100 million contracts did that dude play out? At least 3, plus all of his endorsements. So, he's got some scratch, and I'm sure he's pretty relatively savvy investor. He's probably a guy that's pretty dang good with money, just based on what we know about Peyton. But still, man, I think that there's a reason why he hasn't dived in yet to the personnel side.
Well, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, didn't he just buy the Royals, or isn't he some part, in a group?
He's part owner. He joined that ownership group.
Derek Jeter did it with the Marlins. I mean, it can be done, and Peyton Manning is on the same level as a Derek Jeter. With money-wise, career-wise, star-wise, I think if he wants to, he could do it. But GM, offensive coordinator, head coach, I just don't see Peyton going back to that grind, Chad.
We got Jordan jumping back in. Appreciate that, my friend. He says, thanks, guys. It's like Jordan. Gotcha. Brother is also a Geo name. As he mentioned, it's Jeff. Who's your pick for a surprise trade away from the team during the season, and who for the most disappointing? Let's reverse engineer that. Who's going to be the most disappointing Bronco, I guess, this year? I think that's what he's asking.
You guys know where I'm going with that. I hate to say it.
Toilet?
No, I just don't think Melvin Gordon is going to be the $60 million running back. I don't think he's going to live up to the money or the billing or what he's hyping himself to be. That's my answer for that. Or Bowles, either or.
When's the last time, and I'm being sincere here, if I'm missing something, I'm really asking you guys, when's the last time a running back played out his rookie deal, went and took a top of the market kind of offer somewhere, and then went and crushed it with that team? usually the running backs who have success with the second or third team are guys that had modest success with the first team, and then they have to kind of bounce around a little. Then the right opportunity comes, and boom, you're thinking, how did that other team ever let that guy go? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Maybe we need a guy like James Campbell, or maybe Buona Beast knows an answer to that. But I'm inclined to agree with you that, I think the Broncos are, if you hang your hat completely on Melvin Gordon being the truth and the guy carrying the torch for this offense, I think you're destined to be disappointed. I don't think he's going to justify that contract. I really don't. That's just too much for, especially when you got Philip Lindsey, dude, who's just a force to be reckoned with. We'll see. Who's a pick to be traded away, a surprise trade away?
You just said him. I don't want it to happen, but they're not paying him. They signed a running back over him. I literally could see Elway shipping Philip Lindsey away. I would hate it, but I could see it happening.
Man, that would be I think, more of a dagger to the heart of Broncos country than Clinton Portis, because at least with Clinton Portis, they knew, even fans who weren't super familiar with Champ Bailey, they at least knew when they read an article, okay, Champ Bailey, he's a Pro Bowler. He's an all-pro corner. Like, he's up there. Okay, that's all right. But still, so many fans were heartbroken over Clinton Portis getting traded out of the blue, for what it's worth. I think this would be even more of a dagger to the heart if you're, this fantasy idea of a surprise guy getting traded away. If that came to be true and it happened to be Philip Lindsey, it would be crushing.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Lindsey's going to make it really hard for the Broncos to do that. But Elway, he's not committed to him. He showed that multiple times this offseason, and maybe try to get something for him before he hits the unrestricted market, free agent market next offseason. You never know.
For what it's worth, he's restricted next year, then unrestricted in 2022. Is Philip Lindsey. So the Broncos have control over him this year and next year, which actually coincides exactly with the timeline, of course, that they've tied themselves to Melvin Gordon. And by the way, we've got one of our MHH Mount Rushmore members jumping in, showing some love on Super Chat. Gio, a.k.a. George. I guess it's George, a.k.a. Gio.
Thank you, George.
Appreciate you, my friend. Good to have you in the stream. He says, I'm at work, thought I'd show some love, and I absolutely love the Let 'Em Hate shirt. Awesome, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, credit Zach. That was Zach's inspiration and design there. I can't take any credit for that.
It speaks to me, Chad, the expression, let him hate. The Broncos will prove him wrong.
Yep, and it's something we've been saying all offseason.
HuddleUpPod.com. Get yours.
Check it out. All right, let me see what else we got here. Bear with us here, gang, for just a second. I got to catch up in the stream. The Wizard, the Wizzy and the Hizzy. Mundungus jumping in on Super Chat. Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, sir.
He says, sorry I'm late, guys. I was trying to convince Jawan James that you don't need to wear a mask while online shopping and that drawn on eyebrows aren't real eyebrows. Hashtag eyebrow opt-out. That's good.
Oh, man.
You're bringing the funny, dude. We need it. We need it. I could see that too, man. Wearing a mask while online shopping.
No comment on that one.
No comment. All right. My chat just did a jump, John, so I'm going to try and scroll back up. We got Ed jumping back in, showing some serious love. Appreciate you, my friend. How many yards and touchdowns do you think Locke will have this year? Zach, this is a question that we get from time to time. We're always happy to answer it because it's fun to kind of spitball and project a little bit. My answer is going to be somewhere around 3,800 yards and probably somewhere around 23 to 25 touchdowns. Now, I'm very much open to the possibility of the touchdowns and the yardage being more than that, but I think that's a solid level of expectation, just looking at past quarterbacks that Shermer and Shula have worked with and considering it's his second year and a first year as a full-time starter. That's about where I'm setting my expectations.
Literally perfectly agree with you right there. I don't think it's going to be 4,000, but I don't think it's going to be 3,000. So somewhere 32 to 3,500 yards, somewhere 22 to 25 touchdowns. It's not going to be 30 touchdowns. A really, really solid first full-time season, though, for Locke is upcoming. I'm right there with you, Chad.
Now, obviously, if Locke were to become that next great second-year quarterback to just blow the doors down, it would take a lot more than 3,800 yards and 23, 24, 25 touchdowns to kind of check that box and qualify. But look, he doesn't need to be that. He doesn't need to be this year's Lamar Jackson. He doesn't need to be 2018's second coming of Patrick Mahomes, because the talent is there offensively for him to lean on his role players, lean on his skill position guys, 2 Pro Bowl running backs. He doesn't have to be the man. I mean, even look at Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Like, he kind of has to be the guy. Like, he has to – I mean, you could say every quarterback has to create offense, but in the case of Lamar Jackson, he really has to be the impetus. Like, he has to create. Now, they've done a good job of – they brought in some additional talent for him, but in Drew Locke's case, he is loaded for bear on this hunt. So in that same sense, I could, you can say, well, he's not going to have to do it alone. And, maybe the expectations should be slightly mitigated. They're going to run the ball a lot. But at the same time, Zach, because those pieces are in place and you got Pat Shurmur, X's and O's acumen, all that, who knows, man? Maybe he will have over 4,000 yards and he'll have 30-something touchdowns and just blow the doors down.
It's deja vu, because I've been saying this point the last 3 off seasons at least. They don't need the Broncos an all-pro quarterback, like your point you just made. They don't need a Pro Bowler. They don't need an all-star. They need someone just in the upper half of the NFL, a top 15 guy, a top 12 guy. You put a top 12 quarterback with a top 12 defense, this talent, this coaching, the Broncos have an easier schedule. You give them just solid, consistent, good quarterbacking, it's a dangerous, dangerous team. Look at what Tannehill did for Tennessee last year. That offense went through Derrick Henry. They went to within 1 game of the Super Bowl because the quarterback stepped up. He wasn't the best we ever saw. He wasn't Brady in his prime, but he was good enough to help that team win. And if Locke can just be good enough, if he can be good, they're going to be very, very tough to beat this year.
We got David Kilgore, one of our MHH Mount Rushmore members.
David, thank you.
One of my favorite community profile picks, because he's got the football priest hat and he's got the MHH face mask. A total boss. Appreciate that generosity, man. It means a lot to us.
Yeah.
My friend, he says, are you guys concerned at all about our secondary? If Callahan can't go, are we in trouble? Hashtag Kansas Broncos fan. Very cool. State of being guy right there. Zach, Callahan, if he has his health problems, it really is going to come down to, you got to hope Fangio's right, and that 1 or 2 of those young guys that are expecting to take a step here in 2020 take that step. And if that happens, they'll probably be okay. But I really do think that if this secondary is going to play up to its potential, they need Callahan in the nickel. And he's a very talented player. Like, we clown on him because of, we make fun of him because we haven't seen him actually play a game as a Bronco quite yet, and we joke and stuff. But he played at a Pro Bowl level in that last year. You could argue his last 2 years in Chicago, but especially that final season. He missed the last 3 games because of the same foot that ended up plaguing him in 2019. But Callahan's integral to this defense being able to do the things Vic Fangio wants to do.
If he can't go this year, I'm not pressing the panic button, but my hand is hovering right above it. I would be concerned for this Broncos secondary. Who else would take the slot role? Boye can't play there. I don't want to rely on Michael O to play there as starting out. I mean, Duke Dawson, Isaac Yiadom, they don't really – Devontae Bosby's an outside guy. They don't really have another slot cornerback. And Bryce Callahan is basically Chris Harris Jr. They lost Chris Harris Jr. Now, if they lose Bryce Callahan, they're double in a whammy now. So it would be concerning for me. And this is why Chad and I have been saying they should have signed another cornerback. I mean, Logan Ryan's still out there. He can play all over the secondary. Not saying the Broncos should sign him, but this is why we would have liked a little more reinforcement in that secondary. Just in case, Bosby doesn't come back healthy. Callahan gets hurt again. Michael O starts slow out the gates. They needed another guy in that secondary. Callahan should be healthy. He gets hurt again, though. It could be some problems back there.
All right, we got Mike Evans, bona fide superstar, consistent as the day is long, does not miss a podcast, does not miss a live stream. Appreciate you, Mike, and we look forward to talking to you on Sunday night. As we mentioned on last night's show, next week is going to be the first time and probably the only time that we're going to have 2 superstar segments in the same week. So Mike's going to join us Sunday, and then Zachary's Web Designs, as you guys know him, is going to join us on Wednesday. So it's going to be a gas. But Mike, really appreciate you, my friend. He says, I'm feeling good about DeMar Dotson. I think he will be the week 3 starter, or did you mean to say the week 1? Week 3?
Yeah, well,
Tampa Bay. That's the Tampa Bay game.
because I could see Wilkinson getting destroyed by TJ Watt in week 2 against the Steelers, and then it would just precipitate that move. But I don't see it taking that long, obviously.
Again, dude, I think based on his veteran experience, he's got 11 years in the league and 8 years as a starter, and a very unique backstory. Again, I suggest you guys, I recommend go read that piece that Mike Kliss had. Very interesting and illuminating. But yeah, I would hope he gets to be the starter in week 3 because that's, I'm pretty sure, let me pull up the schedule. I'm pretty sure that's the Tampa Bay Bucks game.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you want to be able to get excise whatever modest amount of revenge you can get for them not bringing you back to block for Tom Brady.
I could see him getting yanked from week 1. The Titans defense against Wilkinson, his first game coming off surgery. I don't see him, if he starts, which I don't think he will, I don't see him lasting in that position for long, Chad. He's just literally not a starting tackle or a tackle at all.
Yeah, and it is the Bucks coming to Denver week 3. All right, John, do you have Cameron, Duke, Zachary, and Ben? Those 4, the stream jumped me. I hope you have them. We got Cameron in the house, and this is another name that I don't recognize consistently on Super Chat. So
welcome, Cameron.
Welcome and thank you. Make sure you reach out and connect with us on Twitter so that we can shout you out after the show. That goes for all of our newer Super Chat superstars. He says, digging that swag. How big of a deal do you think drops will be for this young team? Jerry Judy, KJ Hamler, Deshaun Hamilton, and Noah Fant have all had some issues previously. I mean, it'll happen time to time. I don't foresee it being some plague. I don't think it's going to be something that is going to derail the Broncos by any stretch. And Jerry Judy, I'm trying to think, does he have any reputation for drops? I mean, every wide receiver has a few drops each year. It's just part of the game. But nevertheless, either way, I'm not so worried about it. You, Zach?
No, there's no Demaryius Thomas on this team. And like you said, Chad, drops are going to happen. They're part of the game. But the good thing about Locke is he throws a very catchable ball. Tight spiral, soft delivery. I'm not worried about drops for the Broncos offense.
Duke jumping in. Duke. Super Chat. Being the boss that he is. Appreciate you, my friend. And did you show him what you got behind you, Doug?
Look at that, Duke. Bookshelf is getting filled out because of you. Love the book. Appreciate it so much. Thank you again.
He says, I'll definitely take a reliable Dotson, even though mediocre, over a player like James that has hurt the Broncos due to his unreliability. Excellent point, man. Excellent point. And I think it's a perspective that most Broncos fans at this stage would agree with, and maybe even the Broncos themselves, to be honest with you.
God, Chad, after what we've witnessed at right tackle the last 5 years, I would, again, just be reliable, be consistent, even at left tackle. With Garrett Bowles being so unreliable and unstable, just be consistent. He's going to have some penalties, Dotson, if he starts. Every player gets penalties. He's going to have some holdings, but he's going to be the best right tackle the Broncos have had in quite a while. Not that it's saying much, but I definitely agree with that comment. Just be reliable. Best ability, Chad, is availability.
Boom. Speaking of Z-Dub, here he is in the house. Love it. Appreciate that generosity.
Thank you,
Zachary. He says, Chad and Zach, I just want to give some love to MHH. Because of you guys, I made 2 close best friends, and because of it, I am so grateful and blessed for you.
That's very
Hashtag cool. Wednesday is going to be an amazing opportunity. And yeah, Zachary, that's really cool for us to hear. It's cool to see how these relationships and the chemistry and the bonds that are taking shape within the MHH community. And Zachary, we're looking forward to having you on next Wednesday. It's going to be a gas, my friend.
Yeah, Zach, thank you so much for your support, and we're glad you're enjoying yourselves, and we're very happy to meet you and cross paths with you, and looking forward to talking with you on Wednesday.
And then we've got Mr. Ben Roth in the hizzy. It's been a minute since we've seen you in the stream, my friend. It's good to have you. Thanks for the super chat. He says, what percentage of fans do you think will be allowed at Broncos games if you had to guesstimate? I'm guessing 25% at first, hopefully more later on. That sounds about right if they are allowed at any point in this season to attend. Something interesting that has been put forth that's building some steam out there is the idea of fan pods, which is this idea of social distancing obviously is still going to be paramount until a vaccine is achieved. And in the case of these vast empty stadiums, the idea of, I don't know if they meant covered, like they're in some little mini dome, but like literally these little sections of these fan pods in different parts of the stadium that are separated by real distance, so that the only ones that they have to worry about infection or whatever are the people within their own pod. The pods on the other side of the stadium don't have to worry about this pod infecting them because there are.
What's going on?
But here's the thing, though. They're going to have to get creative on some level if they're going to let fans walk through the gates at any of these stadiums.
It's just, hearing you talk about that, Chad, it's just another reminder. We're so used to what's going on lately, but can you imagine a year ago if we would have said this out loud? Fan pods at the stadium, social distancing. It's still crazy what's going on. To answer the question, though, I think 25% would be a best case scenario to start the season, especially since the first 6 to 8 rows are going to be advertising sponsors to make up for the lost revenue. As the season goes on, I don't think the NFL would risk having more people in the stadium. Whatever they can get in is what they're going to get in. Better than no fans. But I'd say 25% is an overly, I wouldn't say overly optimistic, but that's about where the highest point I would put it.
Honestly, if stadiums go to similar lengths that they do with the facilities to account for, you got the Purell stations at every turn, you account for some social distancing maybe. But if fans are willing to mask up and fans are willing to, you're going to have the first 8 or 9 rows blocked off. That's a given. We know that's happening this year. But if fans are masked up, I don't see what the problem is if a blue-blooded American wants to walk through a stadium and for whatever risk they want to take on themselves, whatever it might be, if it's their decision, I don't see why, especially if they're going to mask up and do their part. Because who was it? It was a coach that said this, and now I can't remember who it was to credit him, dang it. But anyway, they said that the mentality we all need to have is, with regard to masks, is act as if you have the bug. So what would you do if you had the bug and you didn't want to expose it to other people? You mask up. And if you have that mentality, instead of I don't want others to give it to me, so I'm going to wear a mask, if you have the mentality of I'm going to wear it so I don't give it to others, even though you don't have it, it's a more effective way of wearing the mask. But nevertheless, Zach, and I can't remember who said that. It's bugging me now. But my point, though, I'm rambling a little bit. But, Zach, my point here is if an American wants to walk into a stadium and take on the risk of getting in his car, well, you just took a risk because cars can be dangerous. It can be dangerous driving in traffic. All right, did that risk. Now I have the mental wherewithal to decide whether or not I want to go sit in a stadium and watch football with what's going on around me. I think they need to leave it up to the fans. I'll be honest with you. I think they should, within reason, maybe you don't give it a full capacity in terms of you got to have some kind of a social distancing guideline in place. But if fans want to go, dang it, let them go. Mask up.
Unfortunately, it's not up to the teams or the fans, though. It's up to the governors. So if Jared Polis, whatever, however you pronounce his name, the governor of Colorado, if he says that, if there's an outbreak in cases or a surge, no fans at all, and then he's going to cut them off. Look at the Jets and the Giants. Phil Murphy, I think, is the governor of Jersey, and there's no fans at the games this year. It's 0, not even 5%. So that's the only thing that's standing between fans going to stadiums and teams having fans in their stadiums is the political aspect to it, like everything else.
Mm-hmm. And look, Jared Polis has done a good job, I think, managing his situation in the fair state of Colorado. He does a great job. If the teams came up with some kind of a solution for social distancing and they already sent their letters out to season ticket holders on what to expect this year. If I'm the governor, or I should say, if I'm the Broncos, I'm putting a call in saying, hey man, let us do it. If people want to come, if they're willing to mask up, and they want to come, and we do it with, some level of preventative measures with Purell stations and social distancing, let us do it. Like I'd be trying to really lobby with the state to make that happen. Anyway, Kevin jumping in, KP in the house, showing some love. Appreciate you, dog. He says, where are the Chiefs getting all this money? Signed Kelsey today, which, big deal for Travis Kelsey, the tight end. $14 million over 4 years today. And 95 to 15 to mega deals as well.
Chris Jones and Mahomes.
Right. Yeah, that's a thing that was a lament for many Broncos fans today as they saw that deal with Travis Kelsey on the heels of the deal for the other two, as he mentions there, and go, John Elway can rub a few pennies together and figure out a long-term deal for Justin Simmons. I get the argument that it's not apples to apples, but I think it's a fair point fans are making at this stage. Like, if you wanted to get that deal done, you didn't really have the excuse of lower potential revenue as a viable excuse. And I think that's a decision that's going to haunt the Broncos, because I think Simmons is going to come in and have another all-pro level year, and his price tag's only going to climb.
2 points about this. First of all, I said it on a pod when they signed Mahomes. Brett Veach, the Chiefs GM, is probably a top 3 guy in the NFL. To have as little money as he did and to sign your 3 cornerstone players to extensions, just great job making things happen. Second of all, the salary cap, I said it before, I'll say it again, it is a myth. It was back in March, the Chiefs didn't have enough money to buy a PS4, and they give Patrick Mahomes a $500 million contract. They locked down Chris Jones, who everyone said would walk after the season. They re-signed Travis Kelce to a market, not resetting contract, but up there with George Kittle. It's a myth. You can always finesse it. You can always be flexible with it. And these teams, the Cowboys said this about Dak Prescott yesterday. They blamed COVID for not signing him. It's not because of that. No. If you want it badly enough, you will make it happen. It's a myth. It's very fluid. You can massage the salary cap. If they wanted to sign Simmons, you can blame Stevie all you want. It's because they didn't want to pay him what he wanted to be paid. It's as simple as that. It's
a talking point. It's a convenient excuse. That's all it is. It's not the truth.
Right.
Not that it doesn't play a role, but again, they're showing that where there's a will, there's a way. You can get so creative with deals. You can find places to defer the signing bonuses over this. There's a lot of roster magic that these cap wizards can execute. And John Elway just decided to kick that can down the road. And I think fans are justified to seeing all these deals going down in Kansas City, superstar deals, to question why it didn't happen. What the heck? And I think Elway's going to pay the price eventually for it. And unfortunately, I think what that means is he's either going to have to pay it a premium down the road, which if he wasn't willing to pay a premium this year, what would make him then want to pay it a premium down the road? You think, well, my only answer to that is Elway wants to see Justin Simmons do it again. And if he does it again, he'll pony up the cash. All right, we are way over an hour. I just realized that. Gosh, time flies when you're having fun. So let's literally power through these really quickly here. Zach, we got Roger jumping back in. Another guy jumping from Facebook onto YouTube so that they can super chat. Much love to you, Roger. Appreciate your generosity as a Facebook supporter and then also as a superstar. Other than Locke's strong arm, what other strengths does he have? How mobile is he? Roger, he's very mobile. He's like a point guard out there. He's a former basketball guy. In fact, basketball is probably his first love. But he's athletic. He's smart. He proved that last year. He's got a work ethic. He eats, breathes, sleeps football. I mean, he's magnetic personality when it comes to leadership traits and getting guys to follow him. I guess the question at this stage is what cons does he have? What strengths, what traits that you need for the quarterback in the NFL does Locke not possess? That's probably the better question.
Experience. And that's through no fault of his own. He has everything else. Charisma, the it factor, intangibles, tangibles. He really is a complete package for the most part. And he's slipperier than you think he is in the pocket. His sack escapability last year, that stat proved that, Chad.
We got Dennis Woods jumping in. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you.
Superstar. He says, no questions. Just want to show some love and appreciation. We appreciate that,
Thank you, Dennis.
my friend. Denver Broncos for life. And, of course, hashtag state of being from Michigan. Love you, Dennis. Appreciate you, bro. We got Richard Pasha jumping in, showing some love on Super Chat.
Thank you.
Can't wait to hear some live training camp analysis from Steve Atwater. And it looks like Locke is slinging it in all the highlight videos. Great show, as always, guys. Thank you, Richard. And, Richard, if you're on Twitter, reach out and connect so that we know who to shout out and tag after each show. Chris, with his reminder each and every show, supporting the cause on Super Chat. We love you, bro. And also reminding you guys, smash the like button. Click those little thumbs up, as he says. In fact, Zach, I think I weirded out Chris the other day. I was telling John this story. I was messaging Chris, and because as I mentioned, I think it was on last night's show. It might have been earlier. I botched the whole scheduling of August for the Superstar segments, and Chris was one of the, he was one of the collateral damaged in that scenario. And anyway, I was DMing him on Twitter. I'm like, we ended up getting it figured out what we were going to do. And I'm like, all right, man, I love you, bro. Later. And he's like, much love to you too. guy. Hey, Chris,
Thank you,
no,
Chris.
don't get weirded out by it. I just was taught that you tell people how you feel about them. That's all, and it's nothing weird about it, dog. I love you. It's all good. Okay, as another man loveth another. What's the phrase? Platonics. All right, so don't get too weirded out by it, Chris.
He's harmless, Chris. Don't worry.
Very. All right, we are way over, so let me try and John. I don't know if you've already got one here queued up, but we don't like to leave any of our superstars out in the cold. Mundungus, appreciate you, my friend. Anyone else think James is a Nair commercial gone?
I think you got some on your eyebrows.
It's like if you had a toddler that got into mom's Nair, and you come home or you come from around the corner, you've been in the kitchen and you've been in the bathroom and their hair's gone. Excellent joke from the Wiz. Appreciate you, my friend. John, I'm checking to see if there's anyone else we might have missed here. I got to jump into YouTube real quick and see. Oh, do you have Pobby? Because Mundungus is the next closest one. I don't know if you got her. There she is. Wow. God bless her. Pobby. She's a Facebook supporter. She's a Super Chat superstar first. Then she's MHH Mount Rushmore. Then when we put out the call to action on Facebook to become a supporter, she supports over there. Anyway, Pobby, we love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for what you do for MHH and for the Huddle Up podcast and what you mean to the community. So thank you for being with us again tonight. All right, what about Ron Dub? Do you have Ron Dub? John, no? Okay, let me do it the old-fashioned way because we do not leave any of our superstars out in the cold, even on the nights where we run a little bit long, but we'll be okay here. I just got to – oh, awesome. Good to hear. Good to hear. She got her power back, did Pobby. All right, let me see here. And I keep trying to tell all of our by the way, for what it's worth, Pobby, I keep trying to tell the other podcasts, it's not Pabby, it's not Paby, it's Pobby. Get it straight. All right, here's Ron Dubb bringing the questions and the super chat love. Appreciate you, my friend.
Another great question. Wow.
Besides the Chiefs, which opponent's offense will give our defense the biggest challenge? Probably the Saints, to be honest with you. I mean, that's a good question. I wish we found it a little bit earlier in the pod. We could let our hair down, but if I'm being honest with you, it's Drew Brees and that Saints offense, Zach.
Yeah, I'm thinking, not the Bills. I don't think the Buccaneers. The Steelers, I happen to think that Roethlisberger's going to have a really good season this year. A very well-coached team. Could give them some fits in week 2. Top of my head, though, yeah, I'm saying Drew Brees and the Saints. That's a Super Bowl caliber team. And I think in his final season, they're going to be very tough. Now they have Emmanuel Sanders, too, so revenge game. We
also got Derek Green jumping back in to say, appreciate you, my friend, on Super Chat. Anyone know how much cap space the Chiefs really have? This is crazy. Now Travis Kelce going to be around forever. He's going to be around for at least the next 4 years, beyond 2020 anyway. So 5 years, I think, actually. But yeah, it's bizarre, man. It's, again, this is true in anything in life. Where there's a will, more often than not, there is a way. And the Chiefs are finding that way because they have the will. All right, we got Pobby, Mundungus, and then one more from Duke here I see, and I have access to that one. And then we're out for tonight. Appreciate you, Duke. Means a lot. He says, shout out to ZWD. Can't wait for Zachary's pod with y'all. Again, that's going to be next Wednesday, and we're looking forward to it as well. It's going to be a gas. But, gang, that's got to do it for tonight's episode of the Huddle Up podcast. Hold on. James here saying they're already 15 to 20 million over a 2021 cap of 175 million with the rollover. So if it ends up being the floor based on the new CBA is that the salary cap can go no lower than 175 million next year, regardless of what revenue does this year. So there's a chance it's going to be greater than 175, but that's the floor. And he says with the rollover, they're already 15 to 20 million over are the Chiefs in 2021. And they're going to have 37 pending free agents. Guys hitting exclusive rights and restricted free agency could easily add up to 10 million just in tenders. So eventually that Piper is going to have to get paid in Kansas City. But I mean, as you mentioned, Zach, Veach is a very creative and innovative GM. If I were a Chiefs fan, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But guys, we got to get out of here for tonight. Thanks to each and every one of you for joining us. Mile high salute to our Super Chat superstars and to our Facebook supporters. We love you guys. Here's where we go from here. Zach and I, we're off tomorrow night. We're off Saturday. But make sure you stick around and are on those live streams, because you got Dove Valley Deep Divers Friday night, 6 to 7. And then you got Mile High Insiders Saturday, 6 to 7. And then Zach and I are going to be back in the saddle Sunday night, 6 to 7 Mountain Time. And we will have Mike with us. Mike Evans is going to be on the show that night with a superstar segment, and we are looking forward to it. But in the meantime, gang, make sure you are following my partner here, Zack Kelberman, on Twitter, at Kelberman NFL. You can follow me at Chad and Jensen. And then again, I tell you guys at the end of every show, make sure you're also following John Cronenberg on Twitter. It's at John K MHH, as we all know and love him, Buona Beast. He's a great Twitter follow. Trust me on that. And he's on top of all the news. Anything MHH is tweeting out there from content and news and analysis, he conveys that right on. And he's just a great follow. Trust on that. But guys, we got to get out of here for tonight. And again, shout out to each and every one of you for making the time. And we love talking with you. And the time flew by. We're already 16 minutes now, well over our allotted hour. So we got to get out of here. Zach, have a great weekend, bro.
You too, Chad. Everyone else out there, great weekend. 2 Super Chat segments coming up, superstar segments. We got padded practices starting. I'm getting excited, Chad. Football season.
It's on, y'all. It is on. Jerry, good to see you, my dog. All right, we got to get out of here. For Zack Kelberman, I'm Chad Jensen. We'll see you Sunday night, 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern.